Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue au conseil du 13 décembre, lundi le 13 décembre. Welcome everyone for being at council today on December 13th. Glad to see so many people here. Donc, c'est bien voir plein de monde dans notre salle. Avant de commencer notre séance de ce soir, je demanderai à tout le monde de se lever pour un moment de silence, s'il vous plaît. Merci. Donc, bienvenue au dernier meeting de 2021. On a quand même un agenda régulier. Madame la greffière, est-ce qu'on a des ajouts et des retraits aujourd'hui?
Non, pas d'ajout, pas de retrait, donc tel que soumis.
Merci. On va commencer avec la période de questions. Donc, vous pouvez aller au micro et poser vos questions. We'll begin the question period. You're free to go up to the microphone and ask your questions. Same rules as usual. 3 questions. If there's more after 3 questions, please sit down and let the others ask questions. At the very end, we will ask if anybody has any more questions. And that's how we're going to proceed. Donc, 3 questions. Et après ça, vous retournez à votre siège. On laisse les autres demander leurs questions. Une fois que tout le monde a posé leurs 3 questions, on va revoir dans la chambre pour voir si quelqu'un a d'autres questions à poser. Donc, on commence avec votre nom et adresse, s'il vous plaît.
Bonjour. Fernando Pellicer, 210 Neptune, évidemment, à Dorval. Résident depuis 41 ans ici à Dorval. J'ai une question concernant le plan d'urbanisme durable. Est-ce que ce plan d'urbanisme durable est toujours en effet, est toujours actif, est toujours utilisé par la ville dans ses objectifs de planification?
Oui.
D'accord. Dans ce document-là, il y a des points d'intérêt intéressants au niveau du patrimoine. D'ailleurs, c'est un domaine qui m'intéresse. Je suis architecte retraité spécialisé dans la conservation du bâtiment bâti. Dans la page 13 de ce document-là, il y a des mentions « Protection des secteurs d'intérêt historique et patrimonial », nécessité d'élaborer une caractérisation plus élaborée, potentiel archéologique, examen du potentiel archéologique préalablement aux travaux d'exécution. À la page plus loin, la page 27, ça semble indiquer ici le parc Saint-Charles comme étant valeur patrimoniale exceptionnelle. Donc, la question que j'ai, la première question, c'est que est-ce que la Ville va suivre les recommandations du plan d'urbanisme durable et effectuer une étude du potentiel archéologique du site de Saint-Charles avant d'entreprendre des travaux ou des travaux d'exécution, d'excavation sur le projet de Saint-Charles, le parc de Saint-Charles?
C'est pas déterminé à ce point-ci. Faut comprendre que le site a été construit il y a plusieurs fois, je crois.
Oui.
Et je ne suis pas sûr qu'est-ce qu'on va trouver là-dedans. On n'a pas pour faire les rénovations du parc Saint-Charles, pour les équipements de parc, on n'a pas besoin de faire des travaux dont vous parlez comme tel. Mais comme je dis, c'est pas déterminé à ce point-ci. Il a été reconstruit plusieurs fois, creusé et recreusé. Donc, je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qu'on va trouver.
C'est tout à fait vrai. On ne sait pas ce qu'on va trouver, mais le site représente un potentiel archéologique exceptionnel. Aussi, si je réfère, j'ai un autre document d'un historien, d'Érisée Giroir, d'un historien de 1900, qui a fait un résumé du massacre de la Chine. Et dans ce résumé, il a identifié que le massacre de la Chine a eu lieu de la Chine jusqu'au fort de la Présentation, qui est devant l'île qui est aujourd'hui île d'Orval. Donc, à partir de l'île de Dorval jusqu'à la Chine, le massacre de la Chine a eu lieu et il y a eu des résidents de cette région-là qui s'appelait à l'époque la Chine, de tout ce coin-là, qui ont été massacrés. Donc, il y a eu une histoire qui s'est passée là. C'est évident qu'il y a de l'histoire. Vos documents l'indiquent qu'il y a de l'histoire. Le plan d'urbanisme indique que lorsqu'il y a du patrimoine, on devrait faire attention, puis au moins faire, comme on dit à la page 13, de faire examen du potentiel archéologique préalablement aux travaux d'excavation. Donc, je comprends qu'on risque de rien trouver, mais ça n'empêche pas le fait que c'est un site très important point de vue de l'histoire de la ville et de la région. Donc, la question est, est-ce qu'on pourrait considérer une étude archéologique au niveau de quel serait l'intérêt de le potentiel de trouver quelque chose? Au moins, au minimum, ce serait d'avoir un archéologue présent lors des travaux d'excavation pour identifier s'il y a des objets qui sont trouvés ou pas.
On peut en considérer, on peut prendre, on peut le considérer.
Parce que
je ne sais même pas qu'est-ce que ça implique. Faudrait que on regarde. Je ne sais même pas comment procéder. Donc, la seule réponse que je pourrais vous dire ce soir, c'est qu'on pourrait faire une investigation. Donc, si c'est avec peut-être des musées locaux pour comprendre si c'est vraiment un site important, on pourrait s'informer. Je n'ai pas une réponse pour vous ce soir.
D'accord, je comprends. Mais moi, c'est déjà une réponse à dire qu'on pourrait regarder cette question-là et non pas juste le mettre de côté. C'est un site important. Lorsqu'on fait des travaux d'excavation sur un site de cette nature-là, il faut faire attention. D'ailleurs, la loi du ministère de la Culture et de Communication, la loi du Québec, impose, dès qu'on trouve un article de valeur archéologique, on va dire une flèche d'Indien ou de la poterie brisée de l'époque, la loi oblige la personne qui trouve cet objet-là d'en avertir le ministère de Culture et de Communication du fait qu'on a trouvé un objet de valeur. C'est pas au cas où, c'est une obligation qu'on a. Tout le monde, pas seulement la ville, chaque personne au Québec a cette obligation-là d'essayer de trouver des objets, comme le fermier j'ai oublié, près de Sainte-Anicette, il y a un site d'Iroquois qui a été un fermier qui a trouvé des objets, les a portés à l'université, ils ont découvert l'ancien village iroquois. Puis ils ont fait une reconstruction de ce village iroquois. Bon, oublions ça, puis juste montrer l'exemple de ce qui peut être identifié. Donc, le passé, il ne faut pas l'enterrer, on va le déterrer lentement et au moins prendre les précautions nécessaires. À partir de là, dès qu'on a pris les précautions nécessaires, on peut avancer. Mais au moins qu'on prenne nos précautions nécessaires dès les travaux d'excavation, d'avoir quelqu'un sur place, d'examiner le potentiel de ce site-là.
OK, very good.
Merci.
Monsieur Bourbeau aimerait ajouter un mot aussi.
Oui, M. Pellissère, merci pour votre point. Nous sommes familiers à Dorval avec le processus de fouilles archéologiques. Pour votre information, il y a eu un projet, là, quinzaine, vingtaine d'années peut-être, au coin de Brunet et bord du lac. On a fait des fouilles archéologiques là. Là, on a un autre projet qui va débuter bientôt. C'est la rénovation de la maison du jardinier
Oui.
qui est à côté du Forest and Stream, qui est pas très loin de chez vous.
Oui.
Et puis là, on a donné le mandat. On va donner le mandat. On était en contact. On a fait toutes les communications avec le département là, pour les fouilles archéologiques et ça va se faire à cet endroit-là. Et l'autre chose que je voulais rajouter aussi, c'est pour le massacre de la Chine. Vous avez mentionné de la Chine jusqu'au fort de la présentation. Mais en fait, ça a été un peu plus à l'ouest que ça, parce que juste ici, sur Allen Point, la maison de l'ancien maire, John Pratt, avait été incendiée pendant le massacre de la Chine, qui est juste ici, là.
Donc, certainement, le parc Saint-Charles est impliqué.
Oui, absolument. Puis, lorsqu'on fait ces fouilles-là, on implique aussi la société historique.
D'accord. Mais c'est le point, c'est de ne pas l'oublier, cette approche de la protection du patrimoine. Et advenant le cas que rien n'est trouvé, absolument rien, et vous faites l'effort nécessaire de l'étude, de recherche du potentiel archéologique, qu'un archéologue est sur place et qu'on ne trouve rien du tout. Tout de même, il y aurait lieu d'identifier ce site-là avec une plaque historique d'identifiant qu'est-ce qui s'est passé là, dans cet endroit-là. Parce que, en passant sur le parc ou le trottoir, on voit il y a des plaques d'identification historique qui donnent un peu d'histoire d'une maison. Mais est-ce qu'on a des histoires de qu'est-ce qui s'est passé dans nos parcs? J'en vois pas du tout nulle part. Donc, ce sont des lieux patrimoniaux auxquels on devrait identifier ce qui s'est passé. Autrement, on le perd. Et on perd cette valeur-là avec le temps. Et c'est ça ce qu'il ne faut pas perdre.
Oui, je suis d'accord. Mais habituellement, dans un parc, c'est pas comme une construction où il faut creuser les fondations. On ne creuse pas profond.
Oui.
Alors, les chances de trouver des choses sont moindres.
Oui.
Au coin de Brunet, bord du lac, on avait trouvé des pointes de flèches, on avait trouvé des anciennes pipes, je ne sais pas quoi, là. Mais il y avait quelques systèmes qui ont été trouvés là. C'était intéressant, là. On les avait gardés, là.
Donc, c'est ça. Mais la question d'une plaque commémorative identifiant l'histoire de ce terrain, de ce site-là, serait pas de trop demander d'identifier ce site-là. Parce qu'en fin de compte, si rien se fait au de ce niveau-là d'identification, les gens ne le savent pas. La majorité des gens ne le savent pas. Ils ne vont pas le savoir si on n'identifie pas ce qui s'est passé. C'est notre patrimoine qui se perd. Lentement, à chaque jour, ça se perd. Merci.
J'ai pris note de ça et ça, je pense que c'est quelque chose qu'on pourrait inclure dans le projet.
Merci.
Rachel Cournoyer, 170 McNichol Crescent. I'd like to follow up on what Mr. Pellissère has said by pointing out that there is a new technology that is available that might really speed up assessing Dorval's archaeological potential in its parks, including Parc Saint-Charles and all the others. It's LIDAR technology. It stands for light detection and ranging. And it's similar to radar technology, except that instead of using radio waves to detect objects, it uses pulses of laser light. Those pulses allow us to see landscape in much greater detail. LIDAR imagery shows minute details that are hidden by vegetation and invisible to the naked eye. And LIDAR has driven huge leaps in fields such as archaeology. Last year, for example, archaeologists found an entire 3,000-year-old Mayan ceremonial complex in Mexico that was hidden in the jungle. It's been used on multiple historic sites, including the huge Cahokia Mound in Missouri and in Bronze Age sites in Britain. It's amazing the documentaries that you can see concerning archaeology on PBS. On a recent documentary that I was looking at, In Britain, they were able to even detect where palisades, where holes had been dug for palisades in a Bronze Age site. Natural Resources Canada has been scanning the country using LIDAR, and it's made the data available in a model called the High Resolution Digital Elevation Model, and it can be consulted by the public. So it's quite possible that the existing data on Parc Saint-Charles could be analyzed to find vestiges of both pre-Columbian and early first European colonization. Archaeologists will also mount LIDAR on a drone for detailed survey. And it could be a relatively easy first step for the city to undertake a survey of Parc Saint-Charles using LIDAR technology to identify areas that should remain in a reserve, untouched until more extensive archaeological studies can be organized. I'd like to suggest that the city undertake a LIDAR survey of Parc Saint-Charles before the soil is disturbed as a first step in assessing any archaeological potential that the park may have. It seems as if it's relatively unintrusive. The data may already be available. If not, it's easy to find. And we should have experts in our universities who are experienced using LIDAR.
Okay, thank you.
To address you in English. Good. Closer to the mic? Okay, it's my first occasion, so you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Bernadette Kovac, and my address is Ducharme Avenue 315. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to congratulate you on your new position, and the council members as well. The established new council. Today I'm speaking on behalf of many citizens living in the St. Charles area, Ducharme, including Ducharme, and many other surrounding streets. We would like to commend the city of Dorval for its bold 20-year sustainable master plan covering the years 2012 to 2031. Our goal is to be informed as well as to be actively engaged in the horizontal decision-making as outlined on page 7 in the above-mentioned document. As we are approaching the halfway point, namely 10 years of this comprehensive plan, there are several projects slated on our neighborhood in the very near future. So our group is concerned, we're concerned residents who would like to address a couple of questions. Oh, okay, I'm becoming quite nervous.
No, it's okay.
So
Take your time.
It's my first time, I'm sorry. Question 1 would be, can you please supply us with or instruct us as to where we can have access to the 4 sustainable master plan assessments?
The 4 sustainable master plan assessments. I would have to speak to our Director of Urban Planning.
Okay. Next question. Mr. Mayor, under your leadership, how do you envision the process of decision-making in a horizontal manner which will move us forward and even more sustainable and as a more sustainable and viable community? In other words, how can we be part of the decision-making and planning of our future developments in our neighborhood and get our voices heard?
Your voices are heard just by coming here. Your voices are heard by speaking with your councillors, your particular councillor or any other of the councillors, and I have an open door. So that's really how we communicate with people. We've spoken, we did a lot of door-to-door in the recent elections, and so I find that that's a great way as well to speak to people. So I've heard a lot of things, but I mean, can you give me a specific, I understand what you're saying, but is there a specific issue that you would like to discuss? Like we've already committed to the fact that in the upcoming year, we're going to have a public discourse on how residents view parks in the goal of planning for 3 more parks in the next six years. St. Charles being the next 2, and then 3 more parks over the next 6 years after that. So that, to me, that's an example of what you're looking for. Yeah?
There are a few residents who are following in the same vein. I'm going more for the overall questions, and then, yes, there are questions about St. Charles Park, concerning St. Charles Park, as well as the marina that we would be very interested in terms of what your answers are.
Right. So St. Charles Park will be presenting, St. Charles Park is a project that's going to be over a few years. It's going to be in 2 phases. There's the park area, where we're doing a renovation of a park to be an inclusive, fully accessible, inclusive park. We'll be presenting a vision of that park in the next couple of weeks, in early January, I believe. And with that, as I've mentioned before, there are going to be 2 public meetings. There'll be one for the general public, and there will be one for parents who have a vested interest in an accessible park, and for those who run daycares in that area. So that's what we're planning to do for that phase of the park. Phase 2 of the park will take place the year after. I've said publicly that part, the bottom part of the park behind the tennis courts, will be some sort of arboretum-like public space, green public space. It's a narrow area. We cannot build infrastructure in there. There's a slope, it's wet. And so we're going to also discuss what can be done in that area, understanding that it's a restricted zone with houses close by. Okay? So that's for the park. As for the Point Picard property, at this point, we have purchased the property. We're waiting for documentation to come to us to finalize that agreement. The Canadian government needs to supply information to the provincial government. They need to sign off on that and give that to us. When that will take place, I'd love it to take place tomorrow. I'm not sure when that is. But at that point, once we have that documentation, I've also publicly said that we will have discussions in regards to the vocation of that space. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a marina-type environment. That's what it was. And we've said publicly that it's going to be used for nautical activities. So that pretty much describes what it's going to be. Are we making all the decisions today? We haven't made any decisions today.
So in terms of the decision-making of what's going to happen to the Point Picard Marina, that is what we're wondering about. How will it take place? Will the citizens have a say in and be able to put in their ideas prior to the city making the plan? How does that work?
So I think we need to understand that it's going to be a nautical center. That's what it was, and that's what it is envisioned to be. If someone wants it to become something else, I don't know that's, we bought it to be a nautical center. Okay, so yes, we will have public consultations to understand what kind of nautical center do people want to have. What services do you want there? Do you want docks? Do you want to be able to swim? Do you want to have more a sailboat? Do you want to leave a kayak there for the summer so that you don't have to bring it down there, every day? Those are all things that we'll be discussing.
Thank you. And the last question is mainly concerning the plan that I'm holding in my hands detailed planning programs for certain areas included in this master plan? And would you be able to make it public to the citizens, so the citizens would be somewhat more informed about what's happening and what are the plans for the future?
Okay, I don't know what the question is in there. Is there a we need to have a specific question. The plan exists. It's referenced for the urban development that's taking place in the city, but I would have to answer to a specific question.
Okay, so the specific question is the following. To encourage citizens' participation and understanding, could you make the master plan as well as the detailed planning program, which is a more precise plan for different sections of Dorval, so to say? Would you be able to make that public on your site, on your website, as well as the minutes of the urban planning meetings?
Mrs. Bilodeau, are the minutes of urban planning not already on the website?
I think it's I think the plan is on the website. It's not? Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can put in on the website. If it's not there, we'll do it.
And the master plan is not there either.
I think the urban plan is there, but we'll verify those. Thank you for coming.
Bonjour, je me présente, je suis Louise Reed du 295 du Charme. Et ce serait pour au sujet de la pointe Picard, qu'est-ce qu'on vient de parler. Y a-t-il quelque chose qu'on peut faire pour faire avancer les choses? Qu'on peut s'impliquer, qu'on puisse faire quelque chose pour que ça avance?
Le dossier à ce point-ci ne peut pas avancer avant qu'on ait les documents nécessaires du gouvernement provincial.
Mais est-ce qu'on peut écrire à eux autres pour que ça avance ou qu'on peut s'adresser à quelqu'un là-bas comme citoyen d'un groupe qui se mettent ensemble et qui puissent voir qu'est-ce que les autres font?
Et oui, vous pouvez, si vous voulez, écrire notre députée fédérale, Mme Anjou Deline, mais...
Elle ne veut pas nous répondre.
Oui.
Fait qu'il y a-t-il autre chose?
Nous autres, mon précédent, M. Rouleau, dans le passé, lui, il a fait beaucoup de démarches à Ottawa. Il est même allé à Ottawa. On a parlé même à notre député provincial. On est en contact avec eux autres. On veut que ce problème se règle, mais on n'a pas vraiment contrôle de la situation ici.
Puis, si pendant qu'on attend ça, si on peut avoir accès avant qu'eux autres bougent, si on peut bouger pour faire des activités, ça fait, on peut pas rien faire.
Ça serait bien, madame, d'avoir accès avant, mais ils ne nous laisseront pas. Moi, je suis en contact avec eux environ à tous les 2 mois, parce que c'est moi qui transige la transaction avec le fédéral, le provincial. Et puis, la COVID a ralenti tous les travaux. Hein. Les gens sont en télétravail. Et puis, les décisions sont très difficiles à obtenir. Déjà qu'on parle avec deux niveaux de gouvernement supérieur qui sont pas toujours faciles à dealer avec, là, mais ça devrait être réglé cet été. Ça devrait être réglé cet été, c'est ce qu'ils nous ont dit. Puis,
on peut mettre notre part dedans pour que ça bouge plus?
Écoutez, le maire Rouleau, avant M. Dorel, le maire Rouleau a été souvent en contact avec Andrew Dillon et Enrico Ciccone pour justement faire avancer les choses. Et puis, ça n'a pas rien donné, là. C'est de la bureaucratie et puis il faut suivre les étapes. C'est malheureux, mais c'est là. La dernière étape qu'on qu'on a eue, c'était il y avait un droit de propriété du fond de l'eau, où ce qui était les quais, et puis il était question de vérifier s'il y avait des substances à faire enlever, puis finalement, c'est non. Alors, là, les étapes se poursuivent, puis on devrait avoir des nouvelles pour vous peut-être au printemps.
OK. Fait qu'à ce moment-là, qu'est-ce que je peux répondre quand le touriste passe sur ma rue, me demande qu'est-ce qu'il y a de l'autre côté?
C'est le
Qu'est-ce
site
que je dois
fu-
répondre?
C'est le site du futur centre nautical de Dorval.
C'est ça que je vais répondre. OK. Merci.
Hello, Mike Mazzola, 66 St. Charles Avenue.
Yeah, turn it up, please. And welcome, Mr. Nzola. And let me, you weren't here at the last meeting in November, so I will take the time to thank you for running as a candidate in the last elections. It takes a lot of guts and to get out there and go door to door and to try to convince people of your point. And I thank you for participating in a process that is very noble.
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't able to make the last meeting, so I want to welcome the 3 new city councilors. And may you have a good 4 years, and may you find strength in living up to your responsibilities towards the citizens of Dorval. I want to expand on the Point Picard. I made an access to information request a couple of years ago to have all communication, all information towards the acquisition of Point Picard, and I didn't get anything. All I got was a newspaper clipping. I think it was a newspaper clipping from the Suburban that talked about the Point Picard. So when the Director General says he talks to the different levels of governments every 2 months, I asked for all communication, all information towards the purchase of Point Picard, and I got only that story. How come I didn't get all this other documentation? How come there was no emails, no letters, no telephone calls, details of all the communication, all the attempts to try to acquire Point Picard quickly? How come I didn't get none of that?
One moment.
To my knowledge, we answered your request, but if you need other documents that we could have received
Well, my request was to have all information, and like I said, I only got that one item of information. Look at this newspaper article. That's it. That was ridiculous. So yes, I'm making an official request now.
Yes.
I would like all documentation for the attempt to purchase Point Picard from inception to today. All documentation, all attempts, all signs of attempts that you made towards the federal and provincial governments.
Okay, so I'll wait.
I think the city's dragging their feet.
Mike,
Just
it's okay. It's
I'll
okay.
wait for your new
That's-
I
request,
think
and
the
we'll
city's
send.
dragging their feet and blaming other levels of government. That's what it seems like to me.
It's certainly not the case, Mr.
Okay.
Nzola. Believe me, I think everyone in this room up here would like to see Point Picard done yesterday. No one's here is
Okay,
trying
so-
to stall to not do
So
this
I
project.
like the evidence that shows that you have been trying hard, like you say.
So I'll wait for your new request. Okay.
So this is not good enough? I have to send you an email request? Is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
please.
Okay. 3 items on tonight's agenda. 4E, cleaning and grass cutting of the parks for 2021, additional expenses. So every time I see additional expenses, I'm not too happy about it. I'm in the business, so I know it very well. Last summer was very dry and warm. The lawns didn't grow much. There was less grass cutting to do. And when it did have to be done, it was very fast and very efficient and very profitable to be in that business last summer. What are the additional expenses and what kind of money are we talking about?
Mr. Nzola, we're talking about extra expenses that were incurred at the end of the year. People were cutting their grasses late in the year this year. No, there was not a lot of dry spells this summer. The grass grew quite frequently.
No, it did not grow quite frequently. That's what I do for a living. Now, you want to tell me differently? That's fine. Can I have details of what the additional expenses are? And how much, what are they about?
Well, the amount I can give you, because we're going to be reading it
Yeah,
in a
we'll
few
read
minutes.
it. When we do the agenda, Mike, Mr. Nozzola, I'm sorry, we'll be able to discuss that.
No, because then I can't ask you about it. I'm not allowed to ask you about it. So
Can I share the? I can share the amount. The amount is 36,167 on a contract that's just over 300,000.
So what's that 36,000 for?
Well, that I have to dig into the documents.
Yeah,
It's,
because that's, you
no,
know,
Mr. Nozzola, it's,
36,000 doesn't mean nothing. What's it for?
Mr. Nozzola,
Yes.
it's for grass cutting and park maintenance. We cut all our public parks.
Yeah, but it's
we
additional
do-
expenses,
we-
above and beyond the contract.
Correct. And we do extra work sometimes. We also take care of some of the MTQ land, and we also take care in that contracts to cut grass on the soccer fields and baseball fields. So,
That's all included with the contract, so don't talk for nothing, okay? That's all included with the contract. You have additional expenses. What are the additional expenses? The additional work done, what was it?
extra
What
grass
was it?
cutting.
Extra work, what was it?
Extra
What
work
was it?
done.
That they were paid for 36,000, what was it?
Extra work done cutting grasses in our parks, on our playing fields,
You don't
and
have-
MTQ
You don't have
land.
details, so the city councilors are supposed to agree to this. I hope that they have the information of what the extra work was.
Of course they do.
And what they're paying the 36,000 for, and why it
Absolutely.
wasn't included with the main contract. And they should be aware of every time there's extra fees for a certain contract, why there's extra fees. So I'm looking forward to how the city councilors vote when it comes to 4E.
Very good.
Next item is 4L. Additional expenses for masonry work at City Hall. It seems like the work at City Hall has been going on for a long time, and you've been doing masonry walls and repairs often. Can I also have that? I'm going to send an email for that. What's the total cost so far at City Hall? Why is it taking so long? And how much is it costing citizens of Dorval? What's this about, this particular?
Mr. Nozzola, it's an old building. It's not young. And when you open up an old building, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you initially think it's
It's
going.
a very small building. It shouldn't take years to renovate, and always costs hundreds of thousands all the time. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
You could have built a newer building for less than this. So it's a very small building. It shouldn't be too complicated.
Yeah. I understand your point. We're almost there. We'll be, the urbanism department, urbanist, is moving back into the building as we speak. They'll be brought back from the shopping center before the Christmas break. The work outside is nearly completed. I think there's a little bit of the corner of the front building that has some remaining masonry work having to do with the electrical input. Other than that, we're just about done. But we look forward to your email. Mr. Bourbeau, do you have anything else to add to that, or?
The only thing I would add is Mike hasn't taken years. It's actually 9 months, and the project is over now. People are moving back in, and the building is over 100 years old. It's not like fixing a home. It's over 100 years old, full of surprises. The electrical entrance from Hydro was one of the major surprise, and we had to reinforce the wall to put the entrance on the wall now instead of on the roof, which was not allowed. So that's what the extra cost is for structural engineering.
Okay, 5D, reimbursements.
I'm sorry, which one?
5D, David?
D?
D like David, reimbursements for financial assistance, Dorval Athletic Association. Can you give me details about that? They need
They need money to run operations, so we're reimbursing expenses that they've paid out to the operator of the canteen.
Okay, thank you. My next question to Mr. Trudeau. Why did you decide to join Action Dorval team?
Mike, that's your fourth question, so
the
if we can
first-
answer quickly,
Can
we will.
I write to you about it? Or you want it right now?
No, yeah, I'd like to hear it, because other times during the years, I sent you emails, and you never really answered, never really answered. Actually, I actually asked you, I sent you an email in June regarding, are you going to be joining the Action Dorval for this coming election? And you wrote, that was a city council meeting that was not open to the public, so we had to send in our questions.
Yeah,
And
I
you
remember.
replied, since council night is not the place for any partnership of patronship regarding upcoming November elections, which is totally not true and ridiculous. In due time, any necessary announcements will be made. So you didn't make any announcements until the election came up. So I'd like to hear why you decided to join Action Dorval team.
Okay. They did ask me about it. Simple as that. They asked me to join. I took 2-3 weeks to decide myself. That's it.
Okay, when did they ask you? When?
Oh, in midsummer or so?
Midsummer. So you mean how come you didn't join they didn't ask you 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 1 year ago? They didn't ask you?
No.
No?
Mr. Nozola, I think he's answered the question,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
Thank you, sir.
But my three questions, you said them 3 questions
Yes.
regarding the agenda. I consider that one question
I know.
because the agenda, I've complained many times, the agenda doesn't give too many details.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm allowed to come back, though.
Mike, you can come back. You can come back. We just want everyone to have an opportunity to speak.
Can I take this off?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. I'm Marianne Torborg of 325 Avenue du Charme, and I'm also part of a group of, it's a very close-knit community where we look out for each other, we care about each other. You can say that our community is between the lake to the south, we have Chemin Bord Lac to the north, we have the St. Charles Park to the west, and then the Millennium Park to the east. That's our area.
It's a nice area.
Yeah, it's a very nice, and it has a specific feel, you know, it has a specific characteristic. So we are very interested in this sustainable, what is it called? Sustainable master plan, because it really ties in with how we see it. I really love how the former mayor, he with enthusiasm says that the citizens should not only engage and be aware, but they must be part of horizontal decision making. So I'm very happy. I congratulate you all to be in your seats because it's an honorable seat to be in service of your Dorval citizens. And we are looking forward to collaborating with you because we will. And that decision making we want to be part of it early. I find that sorry, I'm coming to my question soon. When the public consultations it already reached a certain level of decision. So where do we come in? What is our say? It's very small. So my first question is, I'm just curious, how much did we pay for that sustainable master plan? Because I can't find it in any information on the website.
It dates back a number of years.
Yeah.
I don't have that answer. We'd have to look that up.
Okay, well, you will get used to seeing us here because we will be coming. And you sincerely think that the building permit for Lot 45 St. Charles reflects the sustainable master plan, Mr. Mayor?
On the corner of
Yes.
Rue Saint Charles?
Yeah.
It's a matter of opinion.
So if we look at page 10, I don't know if you have it there, this master plan, it says to preserve the waterfront and the views of Lake Saint Louis. It says to preserve natural areas and to better integrate new development within the consisting urban context. So here I see a problem. First, of course, it doesn't block access to the lake. It doesn't do that. It would have been nice if the city had bought it, for sure. And we have that means, the money to do that. But it is going to block the view because it's one of those really large houses called monster house, you know what I mean? It's bursting the seams of the terrain. So there's going to be blocked view. We couldn't come as many today as I was hoping because it's busy before Christmas and we are busy people with kids. So there will be blocked view. Also, the problem when you build a very large house, you have to cut down mature trees. So it's kind of a deforestation happening right there. And it's not because it says to integrate new development within the consisting urban context. It's not in sync with the feel and the characteristics. If you walk down our street, you will see that it's small to modest homes mostly. Yes, on the waterfront they are a bit bigger, but if you walk on Saint-Marie, des Mochelles, du Charme, you will see that our houses it has a feel, and that is why it's close-knit. This is going to look completely out of sync with the whole neighborhood, so we are very disappointed in this, and also disappointed.
Mrs. Sternberg, do you have a question with that?
Yes, it's coming, but I have a lot to say.
I know, but we have people
Yes,
here
can you-
who
yeah, I'm
want to
saying
ask
this.
questions, so
Yeah, can you please revoke this building permit because it's not in sync with the master plan?
no, I don't think we can do that.
So my third question, if you cannot revoke this building permit, even if it's not in sync with this legally adopted plan, can you guarantee that we're not setting a precedent for other houses? Because if they're allowed to build like that, what happens with my old neighbor when she dies? Someone buys that. They're going to say, "Ooh, they got to build. Now I want to have the same house." Can you guarantee that we're part of the consultation before you start to sell off our heritage?
Okay, so Mrs. Sternberg, first of all, I want to address something about the property in question. The city did make an offer on that property, and I don't want to rehash old discussions on the same subject. We made an offer, and the property owner refused our offer. We do not buy property at speculation rates. That's not what we do, and that's not what we should do. This is taxpayers' money, and we have to be responsible for taxpayers' money. We made what I think is a very fair offer, and I think Monsieur Bourbeau would agree with me. And so, you know, if the owner wants to sell it to a highest bidder, that's fine. But for us, we have a responsibility to our citizens to pay, you know, what the property is worth. We're not speculating on property. As for the house in that area, I think we discussed it at the last, not the meeting that we had, the budget meeting earlier this month, but we discussed in November that there's very different looks on that street. We have a French chateau behind a 6-foot wall. I didn't approve that property. That's a massive house by all accounts. Across the street, you have a home that has a very particular style. It's made out of cement. Mr. Nozola's house is made up of fieldstones. We have some older houses that are not very much in great shape. So we have no reference for integration. We can talk about integration, but how does it apply to this? There's not one house that looks the same as the other house or another house on that property. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 different styles of homes there. So, you know, we can discuss whether we like the house or not like the house. Some people will tell you they don't like the look of that. That's fine. That's a personal taste. Others will tell you that they do like the house and that look. I don't think it's a monster house in relationship to other properties that are on that street, certainly not the ones at the end of the street. So
Yeah, that was
you know, what makes one property a monster house and another property a monster house? I'm not sure, but I don't think that's a monster house.
It will look really out of place there. And the mistake was to allow the house on Sévigny and Ducharme to be built, and it's going to just accelerate from there. It does. Our quartier there has a specific appeal. Yes, you're right. The houses look a bit different, and there are some big houses towards on the lake there, but most houses are pretty modest. So yes, and it's going to block the view more than...
Going to block the view of what? It's 3 houses away from the lake.
Yes.
It's not going to block the lake.
There are neighbors around. No, not the lake, not the access, but the view. It will definitely do that. So it's going to change the streetscape. It's
Mrs. Thornburg, it's
inarguably-
beside Point Picard. I'm not understanding what it's going to block.
Yeah, but there are neighbors on the side that has more access. And I'm more concerned about the precedent it's going to set, because then every house that is sold and they tear it down, they're going to sell, well, I want it that height, I want it that big, you know, that is what it does.
But they're already that height.
Yeah, but why is that? You know, the problem is that we're not following a plan. Do we have even an urban plan for Dorval? What is that? You know, we have to look at that and really take it seriously. So that is we want to be consulted on our street. So I'm hoping that we can have a collaboration and also remind gentlemen and the ladies that you're in service of the citizens, and there are many of us, and you're in the seat because we trusted you and we put you there, and we're going to put Monsieur Brault to the test. We see him now as a fresh start for us to get our ideas across. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Rachel Cournoyer, 170 McNichol Crescent. I was looking at the agenda and saw 4.0, where there will be the development of trails and winter activity areas at Golf Dorval, which I think is really a wonderful development to make that area accessible to Dorval residents in the winter. Québec Regroupement Oiseau and Technoparc Oiseau wrote to Maire Rouleau last February seeking to meet with the city and offering their services as bird guides in those areas of the golf course that are the winter habitat for a number of species of owls. So in developing these trails, it'd be important that the owl habitat be protected, particularly in daytime when the owls sleep. They shouldn't be disturbed. And what's really interesting about owls is their very early breeding and nesting season. Last year we had in that area in February a pair of nesting horned owls. And unfortunately, even though they produced 2 nests, they weren't able to breed last year. So I think it would be really important that the city work with the birding specialists to identify those areas where the owls are. Both of these organizations have volunteered to work with the city to help both protect the owl habitat and also to introduce our citizens to these magnificent birds. So my question is, in developing Golf Dorval, will Golf Dorval and the city be working with Québec Regroupement Oiseau and Technoparc Oiseau in terms of looking at how best to protect the owl habitat and introduce our citizens to these magnificent birds?
Thank you for your question. Golf Dorval, so there's a lot of stuff in there. We will be approving in 4.0 a contract for a company to mark some trails for walking, for cross-country skiing, and to possibly open up one of the ponds on the site for ice skating. We are not fully, we do not have all of the mechanisms in place yet to open up Golf Dorval. When we said that we were going to do this, it was our goal to do so, and we wish to do so. But we're having difficulties finding someone who will, or a company who will provide security on the property. We can't just let people go cross-country skiing. It's a piece of land that we are responsible for, and should someone get injured, we have to be able to deal with that situation, get them off the property, and get them to whatever medical resources that they need. So we're not fully there yet. We're going to continue to work on this over the over the Christmas holidays. And the goal is to possibly open mid to end July. Of course, that's all July, January. So that's the goal. Whether that will take place, I cannot say 100% at this moment, but that's the direction we're going in. And of course, we have to have the weather on our side. When it's 6 degrees outside, it's not great for snow and ice. So already we're a little bit behind in terms of weather to start making rinks and thinking about, cross-country ski trails. So that's one issue. Now, you're asking, I think what you're asking is to open up Golf Dorval to public use as a park. And, the reality is Golf Dorval is a golf course. It's not a park. It's a green space. It's used for golfing. There's a lot of hazards there. And again, there's no one who is there to act, to deal with any issues that would happen if people are walking around that property. There are lakes, there are ponds, there are deep ponds. And what happens if someone just decides to walk into a lake and drown? So at the end of the day, the golf course has hazards. We cannot let people walk all over it. To be frank, there's a lot of people who would prefer not even to open it to cross-country skiers because of the damage that it can do to the course, and it can do a very serious damage to the greens. So I think we're at a point where we've always said we're going to try, and that's what we're working to. But I don't think we're at the point where we're going to open up the Golf Dorval and treat it as the equivalent of Mount Royal or some other park spaces. That's not what it is. It is a golf course at the end of the day.
That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Doré. My question was particularly pertaining to a fragile habitat for owls who winter on the golf course. I'm not talking about opening up or treating Golf Dorval as if it were Mount Royal. What I'm asking is, when you develop those trails, obviously you're going to do it in a manner that protects their fairways. Will you also be taking the owl habitat into consideration and minimizing the negative impact that winter use might have on this habitat? That's my question.
So I'm not aware that there's a specific owl habitat on the golf course. I mean, if someone would like to share that information with me, we can certainly look at it.
Well, I think that was the reason why Québec Regroupement Oiseaux and Technoparc Oiseaux wrote to Mayor Rouleau last February, basically asking to have a meeting with him, which never took place, to basically outline that whole area. Those two groups are made up of professional ornithologists and biologists who could really help the city protect an environment for fragile species. And I think we all want to make sure that the 11 species of owls that winter in Gulf Dorval are able to continue doing so and thrive, keep on thriving in that area.
All right, I don't think I've received any emails. It's possible that I have. I'll have a look. I can't speak for Mr. Rullo and what he did and didn't do. I don't have access to his emails either. So what I can tell you today is we'll see if they've sent something to me. If they've sent something to me, I'll be pleased to have a discussion with them.
Okay, so you are open to working with these two groups to protect the habitat of
At the
the
very
owls?
least, I'll give them a call and at least understand what they do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Has everybody asked their questions, their first round of questions?
Fernando Pellicer, 210 Neptune.
Oui.
One quick question. Would it be possible to have the list of names of their background of the people who are on the CCU, the Planning Advisory Committee?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
Okay.
There's
Because
nothing secret about it.
The reason for the question is I want to see the background and experience of the CCU has with respect to heritage, patrimoine. Because if you don't have experience with the rest of the heritage on the CCU, you have a real problem.
Yeah, so we do have someone specific in that background. Actually, his, I don't know what his very specific details are. I know he's an architect, but he is the gentleman who's working with us on the restoration of the gardener's house in Pine Beach Park. Now, that property, and he's working on that because that is something that he does very well. And in fact, we have received a grant from the government to do that renovation.
Yes.
So I think that's a testimony of what he's presented as a plan.
Okay, but how can I get this list?
So send an email to
Madame Bilodeau?
Yes, a
Madame
request for
Bilodeau.
access to information
Okay.
to the address gref@ville.dorval.qc.ca.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Merci.
So just to be clear, I know for everyone, the CCU members are made up of architects or people who have a background in in civil engineering. Thank you, Chris. I was looking for the word. And that's basically makes up all of the membership.
Well, the only people who should be on that committee are professionals.
They all are. They all are.
Well,
yeah.
right. But engineering, with all due respect, and I've worked with engineers for 40 years, engineering and patrimoine don't necessarily connect.
No, I understand. But you have to have a CCU with a broad set of members with broad experiences.
Yes, you do.
They don't all have
but
to
in terms
be.
of heritage, because what I've seen in Dorval over 40 years of living here is that there's a lack of sensitivity and a lack of integration of certain houses that have been built and certain buildings that have been built that just don't fit. And McMansions are not a territory for having in Dorval. So I just want to know the background of the CCU, and I'll get that from Madame Bilodeau. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike Nazzola, 66 St. Charles Avenue. As far as the CCU, I asked a few times if I could be on the board, and of course I was refused because I'm not a professional. Now, I thank very much the Mr. for coming and asking very good questions. It's very good for all of us to have this type of expertise and enlighten us. but he does mention that engineers and are not, for patrimoine, they're not that great. Neither are architects, I think. So, in a group, you have to have diverse people. So I disagree with the fact that you have to be a professional to be on the CCU. Because if I was on the CCU, from when I first asked 10 years ago, I would not have passed resolutions for all those monster homes and many of the projects, including the mall project. And you don't have to be a professional to say that's not right. You don't have to be an architect to say this does not belong, it's not right. You can just be a very involved and concerned citizen. I built my own house, me and my dad built our own house 40 years ago. I renovated my first home when I was 21. I bought my first home. I renovated from top to bottom by myself when I was 21 years old. I do have experience. I'm not a professional, but I have experience in that field. And I have an opinion, and I think I'd be a good representative of the citizens of Dorval.
Do we have a question?
Going back to 45 St. Charles Avenue and the development that was approved. It does block my lake views. It is gonna block my lake views. And it will block all some of the views from my neighbors and the people across the street. Now, the main problem I have with, and you also confirmed her concerns that it would be setting a precedent by bringing up the home at the bottom of the street and saying, well, you already have a monster home down there. You already have a big home down there. Exactly what she's concerned about, setting a precedent. You confirmed it. You confirmed it. Now, the difference between that home, which I don't have a problem with big homes. I have a problem with no green space. That's where I have a difficulty. That home at the bottom of the street has lots of green space. It's built on a very big lot. If you have a very big lot, you have a right to build a very big home because you're not intruding on your neighbors. If you have a lot that's 6,000 square feet and you want to put a house on it 5,000 square feet, then there's a problem because then there's no more green space. And sometimes the rest of the space is all driveway. So that's what I'm looking at this home. It's on the corner, so they can't build too close to the street on two sides. So there probably will be some green space, but I'm not even sure if that's their land actually near the street. But this new home, my concern is how much green space is going to be surrounding it. That's the concern.
Same as all other homes in that area, Mike. It has no derogation,
No,
so
I've,
it
yeah.
has no derogation, so what can it's not
I don't know why there's no derogation. You have a master plan. There should be a limit. I know in other cities, because I'm involved in landscaping.
That's exactly what, Mike, that's what I'm saying. We did not grant it any exemptions at all. In other words, it's being built on the amount of land that is described in our urban plan, no exceptions.
Okay, can you tell me how much green space that property is going to have?
I don't have that information. I can ask our director of urban planning to calculate it. But what I'm trying to say to you is that, you would have an argument with me if we gave them an exemption to build a bigger house than they can build. That's not what we did. They can only build on the buildable portion of the property.
The property is the buildable portion of the property, which I've gone to urban planning to ask, is not clear. It's not clearly defined. So when I say to him, how come they're able to build such a big home? And well, because it's not clearly defined. That's what they tell me. It's not clearly defined. You can't tell the guy you got to have 2,000 square feet of green space.
I don't think Mrs.
That's what they told me. That's
No,
what they told me.
I don't, Mike. I don't think that the director of urban planning said. I don't think that they can. Whatever you're. She would have told you exactly what they can build on. She's not guessing.
Okay. I'll go and ask again. But I'm telling you, I have no reason to make stuff up. I asked about another home, and they told me there's no clear guidelines as to how much green space a house has to have.
It's a percentage land use, Mike.
Okay, I hope so. I'm gonna inquire. On that subject, at the last month's voting, Mr. Trudeau abstained from voting. I'd like to know why he abstained. What does that mean?
So before, Mr. Trudeau, do you want to answer that question?
Why not? I do agree with the House okay? Personally, would I build it? No. It's a lot of money for that kind of model home. But it was, like Mr. Doré told you, no derogation. He can build that house. What I didn't like is the color. For me, it's still a bit too dark. That's why I could not say yes or no, because of the color of the house, and that's it.
You should have a yes or no.
No.
Well, his
That's
choice
fine.
was to abstain,
That's
Mr.
fine. At least he
Nuzzola.
explained it, that's fine.
Thank you.
I was gonna say something else. Oh, yeah, when you say the home, to integrate with the neighborhood, because there's many different types of homes. Yeah, there's many different types of homes. Integrating doesn't mean build the same as another home, copying another home. That's not what integrating means. Integrating means it's got to belong in the neighborhood. It's got to look like it's been there for 50 years. It's got to be, that's what integration means. Integration doesn't mean build exactly alike. I hate Villa Sal because every home is exactly alike. That's not what we want. I like our neighborhood because every home is different, more or less. So that's what integration means. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Come up to the microphone, please.
Because of all this, the discussion that preceded, it just brought to my mind that there was another property that was recently sold on Ducharme. Would you be able to speak to that? The marina, right next to the marina, there's a house and the lot just next to it.
Yeah,
What
that's
will be
correct. The
happening?
property was sold.
Yeah. Would you be able to speak to that lot? What is happening?
There'll be we're going to approve a motion today to approve a building plan from the CCU. It's on the agenda for tonight. And what is going to, and so they're going, if it's approved by council, they will have an approved plan, but before they can build, they have to have a demolition hearing to find out if they can tear down the house that's there.
All right, so there is another building, new building that is
The property has a building on it, and the owner of the property would like to tear down that building to build a new home. We'll be approving the home conditional to a successful demolition hearing. He cannot build until the demolition committee has given permission to tear down the home.
Okay, so there is another large home in the coming, pretty much, if you can sum it up as such.
It's pretty much the same as the house right beside it, on the east side of the property. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Mike Nozzola, 66 St. Charles. I just want to make another comment about the CCU. If you have professionals on there who get city contracts or have hoping of getting city contracts, that's a conflict of interest right there.
Yes,
So-
but let me explain to you, because we've explained this before. Anybody who represents a client that is building or working on a project here in Dorval must leave the room when that discussions take place on that particular property.
Yeah. Yes, I understand that. But if they get contracts from the city or are hoping to get contracts from the city, that makes them of a conflict of interest of anything that's happening in the city. They shouldn't be voting on, because they're gonna tend to want to vote with what the city wants, because they're getting contracts from the city.
Can I?
So
No,
that-
no, Mr. Nozzola, not at all. We're all professional people here. I know that, we
we're all
all think
professional
that
people,
everyone's
but
a crook.
money
No,
talks
I
more
understand.
than anything else.
No.
You know that.
I'll
I
let
mean,
Mr. Von.
so I guess the challenge with that, Mr. Nozzola, though, is that the members of the CCU, the professionals, have to be residents of Dorval, who, I mean, they're also going to want to do work in their city. So if
Let me ask you a question. You think I would be a good member of the CCU? Do you think I belong
I don't,
and
but
that
I
I
don't.
would be a good member?
From what I understand, you're not eligible.
Well,
Well, no, but if the province dictates
We're
that
not
it has to be,
eligible, but-
no, but if the province dictates
we have a
that,
city manager who's not eligible.
I don't think that's
And
what we're
he's there.
discussing.
Right?
That's not what we're
Okay, guys,
discussing.
he's there.
I'm Mr. Nozola, we're not here to discuss, okay? And, you know, we're not making accusations of anybody. Mr. Bourbeau, do you want to say something?
No, what I would like to say, first of all, you're completely wrong on that. And there's a point I'd like to make to you, Mr. Nozola, which affects all the citizens of Dorval, is your requests, your constant requests for access for information, we have to answer them. You're going to ask again for Point Picard, but you got to have a purpose, because so far your history of asking all sorts of requests have absolutely gotten you nowhere.
No,
You've
that's
not done
true.
anything. Let me
That's not
speak,
true.
let me
That's not
speak.
true.
You
That's
have,
not true.
hasn't
When
led, hasn't.
We were in court.
Okay,
We were
okay,
in court,
okay.
and the
Yeah,
court
okay,
obliged
yes.
to give
Guys,
me
let
more.
me
So
speak.
don't say they haven't gotten me
No,
nowhere.
let me speak.
I stopped a $7
It
million
hasn't-
purchase
Okay, Mr.
from your
Nozola,
property
Mr.
industrial
Nozola, you're
because
going to
I
be
got
out of order
involved.
in a moment.
My involvement
Okay.
has done a lot of good for the citizens of
Yeah,
Dorval.
ask
So
me
don't
if-
say it hasn't got
Yeah.
no purpose. I think I've done more good
Yeah.
for the city of Dorval than you
Yeah,
have.
ask
Mr.
me if I
Nozola,
would choose you
you're-
for the CCU.
Please sit
Ask
down,
me.
you're out of order here.
So my point that I wanted to make is there has to be a purpose to your access of information requests, because so far it has led to nothing. And every time, it concerns a lot of time for our employees and a lot of money. All these requests, which have given you nothing, cost the citizens of Dorval a very much big sum of money, okay? You may not realize that, but it does. So just have a purpose. That's all. Thank you.
Any more questions? Excuse me, any more questions?
Mr. Mayor, someone asked if the Sustainable Master Plan was on the website, and I just found it in the website. It's in the bylaw section under the urban planning bylaws. So if you want to call me, I'll tell you exactly where it is on the website. Okay.
Yeah, on a besoin de faire point 1A. So, on aimerait faire l'ouverture de la séance d'adoption de l'ordre du jour.
Je propose.
Un proposeur, un appuyeur.
Je seconde. Je seconde.
Merci. On est tous. Monsieur Trudeau, oui. On a... Oui, l'ordre du jour. Excusez, on a fait la période des questions. 2A, approbation d'un procès-verbaux, séance du 22 novembre 2021 et séance extraordinaire du 8 décembre 2021.
Je propose, M. le maire, d'adopter les procès-verbaux des séances du conseil du 22 novembre 2021 et des séances extraordinaires du 8 décembre 2021.
Merci.
Je seconde.
Non, c'est un dépôt seulement.
Non. Procès-verbaux.
Approbation? OK. 2C, dépôt des déclarations des intérêts pécuniaires des membres du conseil.
Je vais faire 2B.
2B. Ça va pas bien, là.
Ouais.
Non.
Ben, c'est long. 2B.
2B.
Le présent rapport vise à discréter une dépense jugée nécessaire pour des raisons de force majeure selon les dispositions de l'article 573.2 de la loi sur les cités et villes. Suite à une série de bris d'aqueduc survenus entre les 13 et 25 novembre 2021 sur la portion de la conduite qui longe et traverse l'autoroute Montréal-Toronto, l'inspection a permis de déterminer que la conduite actuelle doit être remplacée en raison de sa vétusté. Pour éviter que d'autres bris ne surviennent et n'affectent les propriétés avoisinantes, la partie de la conduite affectée pour les déficiences a été fermée pour la durée de l'hiver. Considérant l'envergure des travaux à venir et les délais nécessaires pour préparer et publier un appel d'offres public, les travaux ne pourront pas commencer avant le printemps 2022. Pour ces motifs, la Cité n'a d'autre choix que de procéder à l'installation imminente d'une conduite temporaire pour continuer à desservir les propriétés affectées par la coupure en eau. Le coût d'installation de la conduite temporaire est estimé à 35 300 $. Considérant qu'il y a urgence d'agir pour alimenter en eau les propriétaires des bâtiments touchés par la coupure en vigueur et que la prochaine séance du Conseil n'aura lieu que le 13 décembre, nous nous prévalons des dispositions de la loi ci-haut mentionnée pour décréter la présente dépense nécessaire pour des raisons de force majeure avant que les travaux soient effectués rapidement et que nous puissions assurer la continuité de l'alimentation en eau des meilleurs délais pour le bénéfice des citoyens. Pour ces motifs et sur recommandation du directeur général et du directeur des travaux publics, j'ai autorisé qu'un bon de commande soit émis au fournisseur Nordico. La décision ne découle pas de manœuvres et subterfuges visant à contourner les règles d'adjudication de contrat. La décision se fonde sur des raisons de force majeure et de saine administration. Ceci est signé par le maire Marc Doré le 26 novembre 2021.
Merci, M. Von Wertz. C'est un dépôt. Au 2C, dépôt des déclarations des intérêts pécuniaires des membres du Conseil. Encore un dépôt.
Yes, I confirm that I received the declaration of pecuniary interest from all the council members in compliance with the provisions of the Cities and Towns Act.
Merci, Mme Bilodeau. Le 3A, adoption du règlement RCM-87-2021 concernant les taxes, exercice financier 2022.
Oui, M. le maire. Je propose d'adopter tel que rédigé le règlement RCM 87-2021 concernant les taxes pour l'exercice financier 2022.
Est-ce qu'on a un secondaire?
Je seconde.
Tout le monde est en accord?
Oui.
Merci. Règlement 3B, règlement de délégation, compte rendu du directeur général. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions pour M. Bourbeau? Merci. 4B, offre complémentaire. 4A, développement des collections de la bibliothèque de Dorval pour 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we issue a purchase order for the acquisition in 2022 of paper, audiovisual, and digital documents for a total amount of $256,900, all taxes included, from the following providers: Librairie Monet Inc., Librairie Paragraphe, Librairie Clio Corporation Presse Commerce, Babar Books Incorporated, Groupe Archambault Inc., EBSCO Canada Limited, CVS Midwest Tape, la Librairie du Square, la librairie de Verdun.
I second, Mr. Mayor.
Merci. Tout le monde est d'accord? 4B, offre complémentaire de services d'accompagnement et séances d'information citoyenne. Projet l'enfouissement des réseaux câbles aériens sur le chemin bord du lac Lakeshore.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'autoriser les paiements à l'entreprise Asterim Relations publiques et communications de la somme de 10 014,32 $, toutes taxes comprises, pour le service complémentaire d'accompagnement dans le cadre du projet d'enfouissement du réseau câblé aérien sur le chemin bord du lac Lakeshore.
Je le seconde.
Tout le monde d'accord? Merci. 4C, services professionnels, travaux de forage et analyse géotechnique sur rue.
Monsieur le maire, je propose de retenir les services professionnels de l'entreprise Laboratoire GS Inc., plus basse soumissionnaire conforme, pour effectuer les forages et les analyses géotechniques pour les rues qui feront l'objet de travaux de reconstruction et de resurfaçage au cours de l'année 2022 pour un montant global de 14 371,88 $, toutes taxes comprises, conformément à la soumission datée du 11 novembre 2021.
J'appuie.
Tout le monde d'accord? Oui. Merci. 4D, accompagnement technique pour les spectacles culturels présentés en 2022.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'émettre un bon de commande d'achat ouvert aux fournisseurs suivants pour la location de matériel et l'accompagnement technique totalisant 40 250 toutes taxes comprises, mais ne dépensant pas 25 000 toutes taxes comprises pour chacun d'entre eux. Aviotech Limité et Boréal Technique.
Je seconde, Monsieur le maire.
Merci. Tout le monde est d'accord? Merci. 4E, nettoyage et tonte de gazon des parcs et des espaces verts, saison 2021, coût supplémentaire.
Monsieur le maire, je propose d'autoriser le paiement de 4 factures à l'entreprise Tony DeFeo pour le nettoyage et la tonte de gazon des parcs et des espaces verts publics sur le territoire de la cité de Dorval pour un montant ne dépensant pas 30 167,29 sous, toutes taxes comprises, pour terminer l'année 2021.
J'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Tout le monde est d'accord? Merci. 4F, service de maintenance de panneaux d'alarme incendie, des gicleurs automatiques et des extincteurs portatifs.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'émettre une commande d'achat à l'entreprise Prévention Incendie Safety First Inc., plus basse soumissionnaire conforme pour des services d'inspection, de vérification, d'entretien et de réparation sur demande des panneaux d'alarme, incendie et des gicleurs automatiques, ainsi que le service d'inspection et de remplacement des extincteurs portatifs dans divers bâtiments de la cité de Dorval, au montant global de 90 436,46 sous, toutes taxes comprises pour 2022, 2023 et 2024, conformément à la soumission ouverte le 23 novembre 2021.
J'appuie.
Merci. Tout le monde est d'accord? Christopher.
J'ai manqué le micro.
4G, achat de mobilier, entrée principale, centre communautaire, Sarto-des-Noyers.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'émettre une commande d'achat à l'entreprise Pavard Inc. pour la fourniture d'un nouveau canapé et des fauteuils pour l'entrée principale du centre communautaire Sarto-des-Noyers au montant global de 20 359 et sol et 17 sous, toutes taxes comprises, conformément à sa soumission reçue le 11 novembre 2021.
Je seconde.
Tout le monde est d'accord?
Oui.
Merci. 4H, location d'un chauffe-eau pour la piscine, centre aquatique et communautaire Surrey.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we issue a purchase order to the company Lufrad Inc. for the rental of an electric water heater and related equipment for the outdoor aquatic and community center of Surrey for the period of May 2nd to August 22nd, 2022, for a total amount of $24,389.24, all taxes included, consistent with bid number 24500.
I second that.
Merci. On appuie? Tout le monde appuie? 4I, service de réparation de système de ventilation à la bibliothèque municipale, dépenses additionnelles.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'autoriser un montant supplémentaire de 20 000 toutes taxes comprises, au contrat octroyé à l'entreprise Neve Réfrigération pour les frais de réparation d'un système de ventilation à la bibliothèque municipale et pour couvrir les frais de service d'entretien réguliers pour novembre et décembre 2021.
Un secondaire?
J'appuie.
Tout le monde est d'accord? Merci. 4J, service professionnel pour la mise aux normes du centre aquatique Ballantine.
Monsieur le maire, je propose d'octroyer le contrat à la firme GBI Expert Conseil Inc., soumissionnaire conforme pour l'exécution d'un mandat de réalisation de plans et devis et surveillance de chantiers en résidence dans le cadre du projet de mise aux normes du centre aquatique Ballantine pour un montant global de 436 995,67 sous, toutes taxes comprises, conformément à sa soumission ouverte le 25 novembre 2021.
Je seconde.
On est tous en accord? Tous en accord?
Ça va être géré par notre gérant de projet. Excellent.
4K, achat d'un camion fourgon.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'émettre une commande d'achat à l'entreprise Jacques-Olivier Ford Incorporé, soumissionnaire conforme pour la fourniture et la livraison d'un camion fourgon de marque Ford Transit 250 Cargo Fourgon, modèle V6 3,5 litres, année de fabrication 2022, de couleur bleue avec garantie de base de 3 ans, plus une garantie prolongée de 5 ans, ainsi que l'immatriculation au montant global de 69 472,35 toutes taxes comprises, conformément à sa soumission ouverte le 29 novembre 2021, et aussi d'autoriser la disposition du véhicule de marque Van GMC année 2001, donné en échange à l'entreprise Jacques-Olivier Ford Incorporée au montant de 525 $, toutes taxes comprises.
J'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci. Tous en accord? 4L, services professionnels supplémentaires en structure, projet de réfection des murs de maçonnerie à l'hôtel de ville. Oui, OK.
Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver les frais d'honoraires professionnels supplémentaires pour la prolongation des travaux dans le cadre du projet de réfection des façades et réaménagement intérieur de l'hôtel de ville pour un montant de 8 006,86 toutes taxes comprises, conformément à sa soumission du 16 novembre 2021.
J'appuie.
On est tous en accord? 4M, services professionnels, consultations juridiques et divers mandats en relation de travail pour 2021, dépenses additionnelles.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser un budget additionnel de 60 000 $, toutes taxes comprises, pour compléter la réalisation de divers dossiers de négociation, consultation et pour diverses représentations dans divers dossiers litigieux et judiciarisés pour l'année financière 2021.
Seconde, Monsieur le maire.
Merci. Tout le monde est d'accord? Merci. 4N, approbation d'ordre de changement, projet d'agrandissement de l'aréna d'Orval.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser les ordres de changement AM10, AM-10, AM-11, AM-12, AM-13 et AM-14 au contrat octroyé à l'entreprise MA2D Construction Inc. pour un montant ne dépassant pas 157 071,45 sous toutes taxes comprises dans le cadre des travaux d'agrandissement de l'aréna d'Orval.
J'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Tout le monde en a accord? Merci. 4O, aménagement des sentiers d'air d'activité hivernale au golfe d'Orval.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we issue a purchase order to the enterprise Conception Snowtech, Inc. for the development of trails and winter activity areas at Gulf d'Orval for an amount not exceeding $24,995, all taxes included, consistent with their bid 2218, dated from December 8th, 2021.
I second that.
On est tous en accord? Merci. Section 5, Finances et administration. 5A, autorisation des dépenses de réclamation.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'autoriser les paiements des réclamations décrites au rapport de la greffière pour la période du 18 novembre au 8 décembre 2021 et totalisant 3 248,26 $ non taxables.
J'appuie.
Merci.
Merci à Julia.
Merci, Julien.
On est tous en accord?
Oui.
Oui. 5B, virement budgétaire.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser les 9 virements budgétaires aux divers postes budgétaires détaillés dans le dossier décisionnel 2021-12-16188, totalisant 406 544 $.
J'appuie.
Merci. On est en accord? Liste des dépenses autorisées. Est-ce que c'est un dépôt?
Oui.
D'autres questions? 5D, remboursement d'une aide financière Association athlétique de Dorval.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser l'émission d'un chèque de 5 000 $ à l'Association athlétique de Dorval à titre de contribution financière à l'entreprise S&A Catering pour couvrir le montant remboursé.
Je seconde.
On est tous en accord? Oui. Merci. Disposition, 5E, disposition de biens, machinerie, équipements mobilier et de bureau et accessoires divers.
Monsieur le maire, je propose d'autoriser la disposition des items énumérés dans le présent dossier décisionnel 2021-12-169-75 par le BIAS du service d'appel d'offres du Centre des acquisitions du Québec, le CAG, le tout conformément à la politique de disposition des biens de la Cité. D'autoriser la disposition des items listés sur la demande 2021-07 directement au rebut, d'autoriser la disposition des items qui ne trouveront pas preneur de façon éco-responsable et conformément à l'énoncé de notre politique de disposition de biens, d'autoriser le chef de section ressources matérielles à prendre les mesures requises auprès du CAG et à signer tout document requis pour donner effet à la présente résolution.
J'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
J'ai besoin d'un secondaire pour 5. Monsieur Lesage. Tout le monde appuie?
Oui.
Merci. Vote en faveur. Adopté. L'urbanisme, 6.
Non.
Radiation.
Bad debt
Radiation,
write-off.
5F.
Ouais.
Radiation des créances irrécouvrables.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser la radiation des créances irrécouvrables apparaissant au tableau joint au dossier décisionnel 2021-12-17010.
Given the effort gone in to try and reclaim these amounts, I happily second the motion and acknowledge the work that was put in to try and get it.
Merci. On est tous d'accord? Oui. 6A, rapport comparatif et liste de permis novembre 2021. Est-ce qu'on a des questions? Non. Dépôt de procès verbal du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 6 décembre 2021. Des questions? Des questions? Non. 6C, approbation de plan d'implantation et intégration architecturelle. Recommandation du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 6 décembre 2021.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver le plan et les documents associés au projet suivant. 260 avenue du Charme, construction d'une habitation unifamiliale isolée recommandée unanimement. Juste une affaire ce mois-ci. Tranquille.
Un secondaire.
Je seconde.
Une seconde. On est tous d'accord?
Est-ce que c'est fait? Non, je m'oppose, car la Ville de Dorval devrait avoir le même règlement que le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal, soit l'article 5.2.1 de la protection des vues, des parcours riverains, comme nous avons le lac Saint-Louis. Alors, dans ce règlement, il faut maintenir et tendre à créer une percée visuelle sur le lac Saint-Louis en maintenant le caractère végétal des terrains et des berges. Alors, il y a un quartier à respecter et il y a des vues à respecter. Donc, nous devrions nous inspirer du même règlement d'urbanisme que la Ville de Montréal. C'est pour cela que je m'oppose. C'est le plan d'urbanisme, je vais vous l'envoyer. C'est le plan d'urbanisme. Oui, je vais vous l'envoyer tout de suite.
Merci. 6D, approbation d'une demande de dérogation mineure au 1355 boulevard Hymas.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'accorder une demande de dérogation mineure au règlement de zonage numéro RCM 60A-2015 au 1355 boulevard Hymas, afin d'autoriser la réduction des nombres de cases de stationnement requises de 65 à 49 cases pour l'agrandissement d'une bâtisse industrielle, le tout conformément aux documents soumis au soutien de la demande au CCU du 15 novembre 2021.
Je seconde, Monsieur le maire.
On est tous en accord? 6E, approbation d'une demande de dérogation mineure, 692 Avenue Clément.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'accorder une demande de dérogation mineure au règlement de zonage numéro RCM 60A-2015 au 692 Avenue Clément, afin d'autoriser la réduction de la distance minimale applicable pour un abri d'auto attaché au bâtiment principal de 0,61 m à 0,51 m, l'augmentation de l'empiètement maximal dans une cour avant applicable à la galerie de 1,55 m à 1,82 m et l'augmentation de la superficie d'empiètement dans une cour avant applicable à la galerie de 2,8 m² à 3,4 m² pour permettre la régularisation, il me dit avec ça, de l'implantation de la galerie et de l'abri d'auto d'une habitation unifamiliale isolée, le tout conformant aux documents soumis au soutien de la demande au CCU du 15 novembre 2021.
Je seconde.
Vous êtes tous d'accord?
Oui.
Merci. 6F, approbation d'une demande de dérogation mineure, 221 Avenue Clément.
Oui, monsieur.
Vas-y.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'accorder la demande de dérogation mineure au règlement de zonage numéro RCM 60A-2015 au 221 Avenue Clément, afin d'autoriser la réduction de la distance minimale applicable pour le garage attaché au bâtiment principal de 1,61 m à 0,36 m et permettre la régularisation de l'implantation d'un garage attaché à l'habitation unifamiliale isolée, le tout conformément aux documents soumis au soutien de la demande au CCU du 15 novembre 2021.
Je seconde.
Tous d'accord? Merci. 7A, programme TEC 2019-2023, programmation de travaux numéro 2.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, que la Cité de Dorval approuve le contenu et autorise l'envoi au ministère des Affaires municipales de l'Habitation de la programmation des travaux numéro 2, jointe au dossier décisionnel 2021-12-16996 et de tous les autres documents exigés par le ministère en vue de recevoir la contribution gouvernementale qui lui a été confirmée dans la lettre du ministre des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. Que la Cité de Dorval atteste par la présente résolution que la programmation de travaux numéro 2, jointe au dossier décisionnel 2021-12-16996, comporte des coûts réalisés véridiques et reflète les prévisions de dépenses de travaux admissibles jusqu'au 31 décembre 2023. Que la Cité s'engage à respecter les modalités du guide qui s'applique à elle, être seul responsable et dégager le Canada et le Québec, de même que leurs ministres, hauts fonctionnaires, employés et mandataires, de toute responsabilité quant aux réclamations, exigences, pertes, dommages et coûts de toutes sortes ayant comme fondement une blessure infligée à une personne, le décès de celle-ci, des dommages causés à des biens ou la perte de biens attribuables à un acte délibéré ou négligent découlant directement ou indirectement des investissements réalisés au moyen de l'aide financière obtenue dans le cadre du programme de la TEC 2019 à 2023, réaliser le seuil minimal d'immobilisation en infrastructure municipale fixé à 50 $ par habitant par année pour les premiers 6 499 habitants et à 75 $ par habitant par année du 6 500e au 99 999e habitant suivant, et ce pour l'ensemble des 5 années du programme. Et finalement, d'informer le ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation de toute modification qui sera apportée à la programmation de travaux approuvés par la présente résolution.
J'appuie.
Merci. Et très bon programme où on attend avoir une subvention d'à peu près 9 millions de dollars pour l'infrastructure routière de Dorval. So, très apprécié. 8A, reclassification et confirmation de permanence animateur sport et loisirs au service de loisirs et culture.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser et d'entériner le reclassement de Monsieur David Lebrasseur au titre et dans l'emploi d'animateur sport, loisirs et loisirs au service des loisirs et des cultures à compter du 14 décembre 2021. De confirmer à compter du 14 décembre 2021 la nomination permanente de Monsieur David Lebrasseur au poste d'animateur sport et loisirs au service des loisirs et cultures, division des loisirs et développement communautaire, d'autoriser la division des ressources humaines à effectuer toute modification requise à l'organigramme du service des loisirs et cultures pour donner effet à cette présente résolution.
J'appuie Monsieur le maire.
Merci. Well deserved, I think.
Sûrement. On est chanceux d'avoir cet employé avec nous.
Oui. 8B, transfert d'un poste et modification des organigrammes des services de l'aménagement urbain et des travaux publics.
Je propose, Monsieur le maire, d'autoriser et d'entériner le transfert du poste d'inspecteur en arboriculture au service des travaux publics sous la responsabilité du coordonnateur en environnement à compter du 1er janvier 2022. D'autoriser la modification de l'organigramme du service de l'aménagement urbain pour y retirer le poste d'inspecteur en arboriculture à compter du 1er janvier 2022. Et finalement, d'autoriser la modification de l'organigramme du service des travaux publics sous la responsabilité du coordonnateur en environnement pour y ajouter le poste d'inspecteur en arboriculture à compter du 1er janvier 2022.
Je seconde.
Tout le monde est en accord? On n'a pas d'affaires nouvelles. Avant qu'on lève la séance, j'aimerais souhaiter un joyeux Noël, bonnes vacances à tous nos citoyens. I'd like to wish a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all the Dorval citizens. I would hope that everyone takes care of themselves. COVID is not getting better these days. Please limit yourself to your families and stay safe. So pour tout le monde, j'espère que on se prend soin de nous autres. Et on faut faire attention au COVID. Et j'espère que tout le monde va pourra passer un Noël avec leur famille proche et rester en santé. So, avec ça, est-ce que d'autres mots finaux?
Je propose de lever de l'Assemblée, Monsieur le maire.
Ben, j'appuie. J'étais pour dire des mots, mais regarde.
Merci. Et ça finit.
On pourrait souhaiter tout joyeux Noël, mais Monsieur le maire a bien fait ça.
Oui, c'est ça.
Merci.
Joyeux
On se
Noël.
revoit en janvier.
Salut à tout le monde qui nous écoute en temps réel ou